It is review of Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. With a good main camera, a powerful processor, and a decent battery, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is a great phone for its price. Despite some flaws, such as the size, screen quality, and the way the back picks up fingerprints too much, some people might not mind these things at all. It's a good phone, but not for everyone. The Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is the top model of the Mi 10T range, 3 new phones released in late 2020 from the Chinese company to complement the Mi 10 line launched in January. With the Xiaomi Mi 10T and Mi 10T Lite just below it in Xiaomi's lineup, the Mi 10T Pro sits just above the standard Mi 10T. The Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro has a few strong points and a few weak parts. That's how Xiaomi mid-ranger phones are, so think about what it does right and wrong, and figure out what you use your phone for most, to make sure the priorities match. First things first, as with most Xiaomi phones, the Mi 10T Pro has pretty good cameras, with a 108MP snapper that we've seen in a few other Xiaomi phones. Getting on our list of best phones is a brute force method with sheer resolution taking precedence over nuanced AI software or huge sensors, but it works. Auxiliary cameras don't do much. With the Snapdragon 865 processor, you can edit those photos you just took or play games quick. High refresh rate screens typically work well for gaming, but not many mobile games are optimized for it just yet. Mi 10T Pro costs £599, roughly $780, 1,100 Australian dollars, that puts it between the £799, 1,699 Australian dollars, roughly $1,000, Mi 10 and the Mi 10T, about $610, 860 Australian dollars, though the Mi 10T has a 64MP camera, not 108MP, and 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage instead of 8GB, 256GB on the Mi 10 Pro. Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro has an average mid-range price, but it mostly appeals to people who just want a nice phone without spending a lot of money on it. Xiaomi's 11T Pro starts for exactly the same price. With dimensions of 165.1 by 76.4 by 9.3 mm and a weight of 218 grams, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is fairly big and heavy. I like how it feels in my hand since it has a metal frame and glass front and back. Right next to the volume rocker is the power button with a fingerprint scanner. Despite being placed in an awkward position, this scanner picked up our finger quickly and was easy to reach. Having said that, some might find the fingerprint sensor hard to reach if their hands are smaller than ours. We had to wipe the back of the phone frequently to keep it clean. You can't put this thing flat on a table without it rocking a lot, thanks to its huge camera bump sticking out a few millimeters from the back. It looks like a cyclops is staring back at you from the main camera. The Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro features a 6.67-inch LCD display with FHD Plus resolution, 144Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, and 650 nits of brightness. Now let's have a look at how it looks. Refresh rates can be draining on batteries, but that's not as much of a problem with the Mi 10T Pro because the top mode is actually variable, so little change is needed. You can always go with 90Hz or 60Hz. Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro sports a 108MP f/1.7 sensor like the Mi 10 and Mi Note 10, if you believe more megapixels are better than Xiaomi is the real champ. While the pictures taken by these phones tend to be good, Samsung and Apple tend to take better pictures with their lower res sensors. This 108MP sensor lets you zoom in, or crop, and still get sharp results. There are also 2 other cameras on the back, an ultra-wide 13MP f/2.4 and a macro 5MP f/2.4, but both will only be used in certain situations, so you won't use them all the time. We like the ultra-wide for capturing wider views, but the macro has trouble with dynamic range, as the sample images below will show. It's not the worst macro snapper, but we've seen worse. Normally Xiaomi only puts telephoto lenses on top devices, but the Mi 10T Pro doesn't have one, so you just zoom digitally, or crop that 108MP picture. Up to 5x zoom, it's not a big deal, but beyond that you lose a lot of detail, and pics look grainy. The problem is worst at 30x zoom. When testing the camera, we noticed a lack of a telephoto lens, since zooming is so useful. Mi 10T Pro has some fun camera modes, including returning ones like Vlog, which lets you shoot mini videos and edit them together, and Front and Back, which lets you shoot a video from both front and back cameras at the same time. You can record video at up to 4K at 60 FPS or 8K at 30 FPS. There are some tools like motion tracking and stabilization, but they only work at 1080p 30 FPS, so we ignored them. There's a 20MP selfie camera with f/2.2 that does a good job of capturing detail, so you can crop your pic down without it looking pixelated. Xiaomi's Mi 10T Pro comes with a Snapdragon 865 chipset, which was the best Android chip until the Snapdragon 865 Plus was released late in the year, but given the 865 Plus doesn't offer big improvements in processing, people seem happy with the 865. The Mi 10T Pro gets some impressive processing power. It has 8GB of RAM, which might seem small compared to 12GB or 16GB on some other phones, but it's not really necessary to have more RAM than that. Xiaomi's Mi 10 had awesome speakers for a smartphone, but it doesn't seem like they're bringing that tech back for the 10T Pro. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. At higher volume, the music distorted, and the bass lacked a little punch. MIUI 12 comes with the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro, which runs Android 10. Most of the changes are graphical, but there are also layout and option updates. So an app drawer isn't enabled by default, but you can turn it on if you want. 3-button navigation is also enabled, but you can change to gesture navigation via a menu option. With its 5000 mAh battery, one of the biggest you'll find in a smartphone, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro should last you a day or two. The battery life is probably thanks to the display. LCD is less power intensive than AMOLED, and the auto refresh rate mode makes sure it's not constantly running at 144 Hz, avoiding the problem with high refresh rates. There's no fast charging on this phone, so it's not as fast as other phones from Xiaomi or competitors at this price point. The Realme 7 Pro, for example, has 65 watts charging, but some people won't mind. From empty to full power took less than an hour.